a good idea.
Okay, so thank you everyone for staying until the last part of the workshop. And so when Rui, Tao, and I started to write the proposal for this workshop, then we had this thing in mind that we wanted to gather a software engineering community together with some people from quantum computing and other domains who would be interesting with us to develop some sort of roadmap for quantum software engineering. So this was one of the reasons that we wanted to have this workshop, and we wanted to see how much interest people have in these could have in this particular field. And I think we are all quite happy that we end up having quite a bit of participation. We had about 47 people registered, and we had more or less more people coming and joining us, and sometimes more than 30 people. So it means that there is a quite good interest that we could see. But since we are thinking about defining a roadmap for a field which is quite big, we think, and Rui, Tao, and I have some expertise in some areas in software engineering. So we need people with a diverse background to develop this roadmap together. So this was the thing that we wanted to do, and we wanted to kick off some effort together, and we see how much interest there is. And so my first question is all of us is that do we really need a roadmap for quantum software engineering? And if we see there is a significant interest, so then do you think that you will be interested in joining this effort? And of course, we know that it's going to take a bit of time for all of us to come up with this roadmap. So, and we were thinking along that if there is sufficient interest with all of us, we should try to start, maybe kick off with some sort of monthly or bi-monthly meetings, which could be online. And then we were thinking about planning some Shonan and Docs2 seminar perhaps. And then, of course, we would like to continue this QSE workshop with ICSE every year. And we want to come up with some sort of a roadmap paper. And this is what we have been thinking about. So now I think it's just open discussion here. So for example, in quantum software engineering, we could think about different areas like we have in classical computing, like we have requirements engineering, we have design, we have implementation, testing, and so on. Then a lot of things have to be done. For example, we need to develop methods to specify the requirements of quantum programs and quantum systems, perhaps. Maybe we need new modeling notation. For example, we saw one paper in the workshop about modeling software modeling for quantum programs. And we also saw paper on testing, and then we saw Louis' preparation, and then we saw Carmelo's presentation on formal methods. So we could see that we already have these kind of things going around in all these papers. We could see that. So that's our rough plan is, and now I think I will open this to everyone to comment and let us know if you would be interested in joining us and what your thoughts would be and any suggestion how to do this activity. So yeah, Rui, Tao, anyone?
Yeah, I guess we can start with the first question that you have in the slides, right? Whether people think that it will be a good idea to define a roadmap. I do agree with you that I think it will be interesting to define one analogous to the one that exists for the classical computing or classical software engineering, which is requirements engineering, right? Programming, testing, debugging, evolution, even. It will be nice to have that sorted out and detailed in some sort of a paper, because we have seen even both keynotes, they talked about all these things, but they also say that there are many things that need to be done in the future. And I guess we as a community, we could put some ideas down without, of course, restricting anything. It's just some ideas that we think are worth investigating. And from there, it can even, come up nice consortia to European projects or even more international kind of collaborations amongst ourselves. So, but in any case, we also want to find out what others think. I guess this is like, as Shaukat said, like an open question to everybody, whether you think there should be one, that we should define a roadmap, and if so, whether you would be willing to participate in some way that we can agree in a nice way.
Yes, Rui, you are breaking up. We cannot hear you clearly.
We see that Andre or raise hands, so actually can start to talk. And yeah, okay.
So we start with Andre.
So good, thanks a lot. And first of all, thanks a lot for organizing this. It's an amazing workshop. Really enjoyed those 2 days. By the way, can you hear me okay?
Perfect, very clear.
Great, because I actually had to reboot my router just 20 minutes ago, so we'll see if it will survive for the next 15 or 20. So I do love this initiative. The roadmap is definitely needed now. As any decent roadmap, right? You build one and then it becomes irrelevant the next day because the field evolves so quickly. But I think we do need some fundamentals, and this type of brainstorming helps. Like we did some work before on the roadmap in the area of testing and validation verification at the previous ICSI. Did some debugging this ICSI, and kind of looking at the wider paper of a similar nature as well. So I think the more people will look into it, the better. And even following the discussions today, right, there's very different perspectives of, should we go down the road of formalism? And if it is a formalism, which is it? Is it the soft eng one? Is it the mathematical one? I mean, all of it, I have to be put on paper, right? Because this is extremely valuable. And at this point, we actually don't know what's going to work realistically, right? And at the very minimum, we need to specify what is it out there that is available for people to try. So just my 2 cents.
Thanks a lot, Andre. That's definitely, yeah, fully agree with you.
Hi, may I jump in as well?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry, but there were people with raised hands. I'm sorry, I haven't noticed. Maybe you want to give them priority because I did not raise my hand.
Okay, so let's go with Jose.
Yeah, I'm Jose Mueller from the University of Victoria. I also would like to congratulate you on a great workshop. I really enjoyed it. It was fabulous. I have to give a talk at the bottom of the hour, so I can only stay for a few more minutes. But I would certainly be happy to help with organizing meetings and Shona and Darkshoe seminars. Definitely interested, and I'm happy to help with a roadmap paper. I also would like to make a big plug for IEEE Quantum Week, which I'm organizing. And over the next 2 weeks, it appears that we are going virtual with IEEE Quantum Week, so you all can attend. And we have lots of software engineering content at IEEE Quantum Week. Again, congratulations and thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Yes, so we have Carlos.
Sorry, just realizing that I need to unmute myself.
Yes.
Would it be possible to share my screen for a second?
Absolutely.
So I just doodled something very quickly that would help me.
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I think that should do it. And you should be able to see that. So first of all, I should also start by thanking the organizers. I think this was a great event, and I think the aspirations and the goals of arriving at a roadmap are excellent and something I definitely like to help with. I think the first step, however, towards getting to a roadmap is perhaps formalizing or writing down what the goals, aspirations of the field are. And I tried to put into a quick doodle here on the screen I hope you're seeing, what my thoughts are on this, and then maybe people can agree or disagree. So I think this is the type of diagram that everybody here should be very comfortable with. There's a homomorphism between algorithms and programming to software engineering, and the transformation is either abstraction or formalization, possibly both. And there's a homomorphism from classical to quantum, which is achieved by quantization. And then we can see this composition map, which we at the bottom right and over here. I don't know if you see my cursor. You see quantum software engineering. And to my mind, I think the major aspiration, or one of the axioms, as I put it, is that we want quantum software engineering to be as close as possible to software engineering for much the same reasons that several speakers have already mentioned earlier. Opening the floodgates to a wider audience, getting more people on board, the idea that you can't have just physicists thinking about quantum computing, et cetera, et cetera. You want a Rosetta Stone, or you want a universal language. You want an Esperanto to take over. So we want as little. We want to break down the barriers of communication. It is true that the cat notation is a very obscure notation that is only used by certain physicists. So maybe formal methods is the right approach, maybe other methods. But before I think we get to those questions, what we need is a motivation, an aspiration, or certain goals. So again, I just put on the screen what I think those general goals that I don't think are should be very what's the word? I don't think there will be a lot of debate around these, but maybe, I don't know. So I just wanted to put them out there, and that's it for me for now.
Yes, any comment from anyone?
I can, and actually, what I was going to say is precisely within the lines of what Carlos just said. So I think that it would help. So I agree, first of all, that we need a roadmap. But before actually thinking of what the roadmap should be, it would also help me to make it more clear what the goal of the roadmap is. And I think Carlos was basically saying more or less the same thing, but I don't want to misinterpret. But my opinion is that the roadmaps that were defined for, let's say, classical software engineering were defined at a maturity moment that, to me at least, feels different than the maturity level that quantum software engineering has achieved so far. So although I am aligned in spirit with sort of mimicking what has been done for classical software engineering, the current maturity state of quantum software engineering might not make it totally compatible, I think. And so maybe it would help to discuss a bit what the goals for the roadmap would be. But again, I'm very aligned that we would need one, and I also wouldn't want to go without saying or without thanking the organizers for the beautiful work they did. I also enjoyed these last 2 days very much.
Yes, thanks a lot. I think we need to, yeah, I agree with you. Before going to the roadmap, we should also probably need to discuss clearly what the goals are. And I also agree with you that quantum software engineering field is not, I mean, you're right, is not as mature as, for example, when the roadmaps were developed for classical software engineering. So, but I think we need to, I mean, when we kick off this process, maybe the first discussion could be directly on the goals. We all discuss, we come up with some points and see and agree among ourselves what are the goals of this roadmap. So, but I think I've written this point, and also we can kick off with this when we start working on it together.
Yeah, just one comment. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Risk, okay. Yeah, with just one quick comment, I think that because it's also important as mentioned that one of the goals is to identify the gap. I think so we know that right away. I think that's the first step, and then we see for example whether UML is the starting point for for quantum software modeling, or whether we need to have a domain-specific language, for example, modeling language. I think this kind of thing can all actually list in the roadmap, and then get all this organized. Hopefully, with all this effort we are making here, right? Yeah, really can go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, that was basically my point as well. So I think that we have to start with like outlining the current state of affairs, right? And only then move on to what is the next goals, right? And what are the next goals and what should be done to get there as a roadmap. We of course we cannot do the same thing as software engineering because the maturity level is different. Given the current state of affairs,
yep,
of the art, what should be done next, such that we get to a certain point, right? As it was already mentioned here, things might, of course, be outdated like the day after we publish the roadmap, because things have moved quickly and things have changed. But the exercise, I think, will be good for the field, I suppose.
Okay, we have Anila.
Hello, everyone. I am Anila Mieda. I am from LIRO, which is the Irish Software Research Center. And really thanks for this workshop. I really enjoyed. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend all of the talks because too many things overlapped. But going back to the point that we are discussing, I'm a true believer that having a roadmap would really help the cause and will really help the field going forward. And I'm very happy to contribute. Okay.
Thank you very much, Anila.
Sure.
So we have question from Wolfgang. Yeah, Wolfgang has some. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually two things I'd like to remark. The first thing is I'm very much against quantum software engineering. The second thing is I'm very much in favor of quantum software engineering. And why is that so? I think that as many of the previous speakers and persons talking before have already said, that quantum software is not even close to the maturity that traditional software engineering is right now. But still, I think we should take care of it to ascertain that we do not run into the same issues that have plagued traditional software engineering for really the better part of the last 2 decades. So that is a really big chance to avoid all these mistakes that we've made. Why I'm against quantum software engineering as an isolated discipline is why I think that's not a reasonable thing to consider is we will in all likelihood never have any computers that run on a purely quantum basis. That's something that's not even desirable. So quantum machines will always, in my opinion, be subcomponents of a system, like GPUs or accelerators for systems, or like mathematical coprocessors used to be. And people wouldn't think of coming up with software engineering for GPUs, say, or software engineering for numerical coprocessors. So in that sense, it doesn't make sense to consider it as a discipline that is too disjoint from traditional software engineering. But if we manage to establish QSE as an integral part of the software engineering business that's done today, I think that should be the goal of any roadmap, which I'm happy to help contribute to. And again, also from me, thank you very much to all the organizers for this really exciting and thrilling workshop. It was a pleasure to attend.
Thanks, Wolfgang. Yes, I actually fully agree with you. We cannot do alone quantum software engineering. It has to be with the classical one, and I don't think everything will be pure quantum. So, yep, I agree with you.
Yeah, I guess this actually nicely perhaps justify that, when we propose the methodologies for for example, modeling, testing requirements even, then they should be, considered very similar to the classical software engineering methodologies, so that it's there's no like big gap, to bridge. Yeah.
Yes, I think I have hands from Yao Paulo. Or was it from previous, I guess?
Yes, it was the previous. I'm sorry. I forgot to raise it too. Sorry.
Okay, then we have Carlos. Or is it from previous as well? So.
No. Actually, I did just wanted to respond to the last comment to say that, at least to my mind, the way I define quantum software engineering is it's not a software engineering of purely quantum devices. I think when thinking of quantum algorithms, even, I think of there's a classical component, a quantum component. And even the description of the algorithm is, there's intrinsically classical parts to any quantum computation. And I think in the same vein, we should think of quantum software engineering as something that uses both classical information and quantum information, classical information processing and quantum information processing. And that's one thing that I tried to bring up as a central component of any quantum software engineering approach, is that you will want to make the distinction explicit in your software design goals, is that there are classical components, there are quantum, and which ones are which. So I do agree that one should not be in favor of quantum software engineering if one were to define it in that very narrow sense that it is only engineering about purely quantum devices. But if we understand it to be quantum software really is just a superset of classical and quantum computation devices, then I don't think there's anything to be against there.
Yeah, I think at least I have the similar vision, similar view as you. So it's.
I think it will always be hybrid kind of computation, right?
Yeah. So now we have
that something is resolved just by quantum. Sorry, go ahead.
So we have Jianjun, now. Jianjun.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yes, I'm Jianjun. Yes, from the University of Kyushu University, from the Kyushu University, Japan. So it's very, yes, it's very happy, yes, to have such kind of chance, yes, to attend this conference. Actually, I'm also interested in that kind of things for applying the software engineering principles, yes, to the quantum computing. I think, yes, it's a very important, yes, for us to have a roadmap, yes, to guide us to do some interesting research in this quantum engineering, quantum software engineering area. So actually, we are writing a survey paper regarding the quantum software engineering, and we actually found quite a lot of papers in this area from the last decade. So we almost finished the paper, and it will be available for about, for example, a week later. So if you're interested, we can discuss some things about that. Okay. Yeah. So
this would be really great. I think it could be a really good starting point for us to see what exists. So it's
yeah. I think the first step is we should know what have we done and in this area, so that we can for example, to write roadmap papers. Yes.
Just that would be
Okay.
really great. So actually at some point we plan to put some sort of a website, and then where we can have some resources that we can share with each other. And
Okay.
so I
Yeah.
think it would be good to start sharing these things with each other. So that would be really good. Thanks a lot, Yunjun.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, so any other comments?
Can I say something? My name is Koen Bertels.
Yes, Quinn.
Okay. I think what is extremely missing, and I agree with basically everybody what was said today, right? But I think what is missing is that we have to start looking really at applications. Because quantum software, what is quantum software? Because the quantum languages that were developed, they look at the quantum physics aspects, but they don't really look at, let's say, the application, the potential use by companies, organizations, and things like that. So that was a bit the message that I wanted to bring also today. Yeah. So a good exercise for anybody is to simply take a small example of an application that you think is good, try to translate that into quantum logic, which, trust me, is pretty different than classical logic, because that will help you discover a lot of the features that you may need in the roadmap. I think Shaukat and Rui, we already had several discussions on this, yeah, about software testing and things like that. Yeah, I think what is extremely important is the parallelization, because we have to realize that, and I fully agree with other people saying it, we have to wait maybe 10, 15 years before there will be any kind of operational device, quantum operational device. So I'm basically pleading towards, let's say, using supercomputers, but that implies to us, the software developers or hardware developers, to parallelize the code. And the parallelization is already a big challenge in itself. So if you make a certain small application and you try to parallelize it and then run it on whatever powerful computer you may have in your organization, that would already explain a lot of the challenges that we have to go through to come up with a decent roadmap. Because simply saying, oh, we did that classically, so now we put quantum in front of it and therefore it will also work. Yeah, my personal experience is, no, it does not work. Yeah, and so that is the only thing that I wanted to emphasize now. Yeah, so I'm fully in favor of a roadmap, but we first also need some experience in maybe programming certain things, understand what the limitations are, and then come up with ideas of what potential research topics could be in the software engineering domain. So that I think is for me the important message that I wanted to bring today, and I want to emphasize again today in this discussion. Thank you.
Yes, very good point, Con. Very good. Yeah, I think I agree with you. It's I think as we discuss, then we need to actually think about the applications for sure. Yeah, very good. So we have Wolfgang. Yes.
Yeah, so now that Koen has mentioned applications, I'd like to also make, after Hausi did some advertisement for an IEEE conference, a very brief announcement or advertisement for the Apex workshop that is going to take place at this year's FSE conference. So it's going to be, I think, in November. CFP is open until mid of August. And if you have stuff that you'd like to publish, but the next QSE workshop is still 1 year away, then that might be an opportunity to consider, especially since we're also very much interested in applications of quantum computing. End of shameless plug.
Thanks a lot, Wolfgang. So, yeah, so any other comments? Okay, then I think I would, maybe we could say, we can a little bit talk about what would be our next steps. So I think the first step would be that we can try to share maybe a Google form or something and send an email to you to see if how many of you are interested in this, so that we can have formally we can have a list of people, and then probably we can try to kick off with an online meeting, maybe sometime after summer, maybe, and then from there we can start our activity together. I'm not sure how does this sound to all of you? Is it okay or?
I think it's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, having a first meeting after the summer break would be nice, and then and then we'll see how to go from there. I think eventually it will be nice, COVID allowing us, of course, to put those together in one of those DAX tools or Shannon meetings. Things will go much faster, but let's see how things evolve with the pandemics, right?
Yes, and I think we have Jianjun here from Japan, so maybe we could get some help in organizing a shonen, perhaps. I'm not sure. Just thinking out loud. So.
Oh yes, I think it's a very good idea. Yes, if there is a chance, yes, to organize a Shauna meeting, seminar, yes, I'd like to, yes, to contribute to the organization and something, contact and something, yeah.
That would be
yeah,
really
I'd
great.
like to do that, yeah.
Mello, do you want to say something?
Yeah, it's a Shauna meeting, yeah.
Yep. So we have now Carmelo. Yes, please.
I was thinking actually that, the approach to software engineering can come from different perspectives. So what about considering splitting, the interest in groups of interest? I mean, there can be people interested maybe in deepening some arguments in a way rather than in another way. So, you could have probably a group interested in verification methods, another group in formal methods with different approaches, another group in testing, groups with people that have different backgrounds about the same common goal.
Yeah, I think this is a really good idea. I think we need to find a strategy to divide somehow and a special interest group, and each interest group could work on a specialized topic. I think this would be the way to go. I think so too. Yeah. I mean, having one big group might not work, so we have to for sure somehow. So I mean, it could be that in first meeting we can try to come up with, discuss about what are the goals of roadmap, and then we think about how to devise these small subgroups and then just to divide, and then something like this maybe. Yeah.
But actually, ancients were used to say divide et impera. So by dividing, you can rule.
Yes. Yep. So any other comments or suggestions or? So if not, maybe then we can conclude here our workshop. So thank you very much all for joining this workshop to make it a success. I think it was a really fun listening to everyone and very interesting discussion. So I think very soon we can have this discussion very frequently as part of this our roadmap activity together. So yep, so I would like to thank everyone and then see you next time.
Thank you. We'll keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you and bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.